everyone. Coach is just getting set up now, so when he is ready, we'll start off with Dave Zangaro and then Bo. Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time today.
Hey, thank you. Hey, before we start, just want to share our sympathy and our prayers with Hugh Douglas and his family after the tragic passing of his son. Just we're really thinking about them a lot. Hugh and his wife Simona, his ex-wife Simona, and just want to give our sympathies there. Tragic, very tragic, and I'm told the young man was a unbelievable kid, and so just want to put that out there first.
We'll get started here with Dave Zangaro and then Bo Wolf.
Hey, Nick. Good afternoon.
Hey, Dave.
How much of an advantage is there having somewhat of an unknown as your defensive coordinator going into the season, and how much does that play a role as you game plan for Week 1?
Yeah, I think anytime there's unknown, that's an advantage. So I always think that that's why we were very vanilla in the preseason. We didn't want to show a lot of different things that we plan on doing during the season, and so just like a first-year staff, we got a new first-year coordinator, here with the Eagles. So I think that's an advantage, and obviously, I know Coach O'Brien on the other side too. First-year coordinator back with the Patriots. Now there's a lot of film there, but it's the same thing. I think definitely not knowing is an advantage. So obviously both sides have that going on right now.
We'll go to Bo and then Chris Franklin.
Hey, Nick, in terms of your off-season research about like handling success and stuff like that, how much did you look at Bill Belichick's history, and how much was he sort of a tentpole for you?
Yeah, obviously, just honored to be able to coach against him on Sunday. Just have the utmost respect for him and everything that he's done for this game and in this game. And I've always been fascinated about Coach Belichick and his style of coaching and why he's been so successful. I mean, guys that I've learned, I think about Brian Dable and the elevation of my coaching career took after being around him. And I know Coach Dable always talked about, where he learned it was from Coach Belichick. So just have so much respect for him, and always fascinated by everything that he does. And so, and a ton of success year after year after year. And so, yeah, of course, I've studied him and different things with his success.
We'll go to Chris and then Josh Tolentino.
Afternoon, Nick.
Hey,
You have Patricia is on the coaching staff now, and he spent so much time up there in New England with Bill Belichick. How much do you rely on him for this upcoming week? When you determine the potential play?
Yeah, Chris. You turn over you try to turn over every stone that you possibly can, looking for answers and different things. So, like I said, anybody that's been around Coach Belichick, I'm just always asking questions about what, whether it's scheme or whether it's coaching philosophies. I've just always been fascinated by, him and his coaching tree. So again, like I said, Brian Dable, big mentor to me, and then just how big of a help Coach Patricia's been to me as well. Just in with general coaching philosophies and also scheme wise. So of course you're gonna look for every advantage you can get, and and that's what we're doing this week.
Go ahead, Josh, and then Rube.
Hey, Nick, good afternoon. Any insight, or I guess, could you provide detail on how you announced the team captains for this year, similar to how you did last year? And as a follow-up to that, just your reaction or the deservedness of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith specifically as first-timers.
Yeah. So, we do it last year. I'm not great at keeping secrets. So last year, like I had to tell Slay that he was a captain. And this year I was a little bit better at keeping the secret. So I waited until, our team meeting. And our team meeting, always when we announce those captains, is about roles, right? And so you go, and I think that's a really important team meeting, right? That you go through and you solidify, you tell everybody what their role is on the football team. And that obviously roles can change if you excel in your role. And so at the end of that meeting, after talking about roles, it's, hey, all right, now who are the captains? In addition to the responsibilities we talked to you guys about, here are also the captains and what your role is as a captain. And basically their role as captain is they got voted a captain for a reason, and it's to lead the way they lead, right? They've been voted by their peers as captains, and so it is, hey, go lead the way you lead. And so that was kind of how we did it. I put the guys up last year, so I announced the offensive captains and put Jason and Lane and Jalen up. Announced the defensive captains and put Brandon and Fletch and Slay up. I announced special teams captains and put Jake up. I paused, right, and then I went into the the two new captains, which anytime you can give guys good news of guys that are not only tremendous players but tremendous leaders and tremendous people on your team, that's obviously something that you really enjoy and remember as a coach. And so, really happy for all the guys voted captain, because it just says so much about them and what their teammates think about them. And then just obviously get really excited for the guys that are going to wear the C on their chest for the first time this year. And so I don't think it didn't surprise me at all, because AJ and Devontae have special leadership qualities and play tremendous football, and they lead in their own way. And so I'm just really happy for them. I'm really happy for all the guys, but you asked me about the two new guys. Really happy for them. I love being able to give good news out, and I was able to there.
Go ahead, Rube, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Rube.
I guess kind of a two-part question, and two parts have nothing to do with each other. But number one, do you care to announce a starting safety for Sunday? And number two, I didn't think so. Number two, just you mentioned Matt Patricia and your fascination with Coach Belichick. How much have you picked his brain about Bill, and is there anything in particular that has fascinated you watching Bill Belichick from afar?
I think I'm always fascinated by people who are consistent, and that's what his career has been, is just this unbelievable consistency of success. And so that's what I'm always fascinated about. And so what you ask questions about is daily operation, the process, daily operations, right? All those different things. Like, look, every time you watch his defense play, you see, the fundamentals on display. You see the smart situations on display, the situational football intelligence on display. And I guess a lot of those things have inspired me to say, hey, what's important to winning football games? Well, football IQ and fundamentals. And so I think, one thing is like, hey, the core values are a direct reflection of great coaches and teams I've studied in the past, and he's obviously at the top of that list. And so, again, I won't answer your first question, yet. No need to yet. But the second part is just it's not something like it's just the daily process of questions. Hey, what would Bill do in this situation right here? Kind of things. And so those are constant conversations, and I feel like I just have a good tap into him from guys that he's been around for a long time, and I'm honored that I'm able to do that. And because again, when we show a play, or a route or something like that, we show our guys how to do it, right? From great players of the past, great players of, great plays that we've made here as Eagles. And so you're able to see that. And so it's the same, but it's no different as coaches, right? You want to study great coaches of the past and present, and just try to perfect your craft.
Go ahead, John, and then Martin.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, John.
I was going to ask you about punter, but I won't. I won't bother now. Offensively, you're talking about studying coaches. You guys had so much success last season. Jalen had so much success. Presumably, you're going to get some curveballs. Does your self-scout kind of give you a good indication of what you're going to get, or is it more reactionary when it pops up?
Definitely, your self-scout is a big yes to both, right? Yes to both your questions. So, like, yes, your self-scout is going to play a factor into that. You always are constantly looking at, what tendencies you have, what looks, for everything. In the tendencies, and it's not plays or situational plays. It's also like how guys are standing and how different things look, right? There's some things that you just have to dig and dig and dig and try to find to scout yourself. And that's where you have different people, right? One reason I love having a defensive senior assistant and an offensive senior assistant is the offensive senior assistant can give you a self-scout of what you're doing offensively, and what in the defense from an offensive point of view, and the defense senior assistant can do the same thing on a defensive point of view. So again, that's something we're obsessed with, of trying to have. Sometimes, and I've always been taught too that sometimes good teams have tendencies, right? They have tendencies, and so, but you're trying to break those as much as you possibly can. And I had another part of your question, but I now say what the other part of that was.
Just if it was reactionary.
Oh, yeah. The other thing, John, is that when you have had success on offense, my experiences has been that when you've had success on offense, you have to be ready for the unexpected, right? You have to be ready for things that they didn't put on tape. And so what you're trying to do in walkthroughs specifically is recreate that as much as you can. Hey, what stops this play? Well, this can stop it, this can stop it, this can stop it, and this can stop it, whatever it is, right? And you try to say, all right, well, this is in their scheme, right? Show them that. But then you're also trying to pick and choose, like, well, they could do this. They haven't shown that on tape, but they could do it. Because that's been my experience with when we've been successful on offense, is that you have to expect unexpecteds. One thing I talked about in our roles to the guys is like, hey, Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts, there's nobody else in this world I want to handle the unexpecteds other than you guys out there on the field. Like, they're the two best doing it in the world, in my opinion, right? And so, like, nobody else I'd rather have handling the unexpecteds than Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts, because a lot of times you as a coach can't handle it until after it happens, or you can prep them, but you can't handle it until after it happens on the sideline. So it's the players on the field that have to handle it the first time it happens. And again, like I said, nobody else in the world, like the football IQ on those two guys is off the charts, and they set the table of where we go and how the play's being blocked or the check or anything like that. So excited that they're there, because I know that you can expect unexpecteds when you've had success on offense.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Zach.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Martin.
You mentioned earlier about like the unknowns going into week one, and I kind of wanted to ask you about the running back room in particular. The last couple years, obviously, Miles, everybody kind of knew Miles was your main guy. But like, how much of an advantage is it not only for this game Sunday, but week to week, having DeAndre and what he can do, Rashad and what he can do, Kenny and even Boston. I mean, is it something that I guess week to week you can adjust and it's still kind of an unknown? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, the more guys you can have that are able to do the job description, the better. It's a deep group. Yeah, and they will, and we'll see how it goes. It really, the running back room can go. I've said this to you guys before. The running back room can be either way, right? It can be by committee. It can be, with one guy that's taking all the carries or majority of the carries. And so we're excited that a lot of different guys can do it. When we were capable of that last year, in my opinion, as well, and I think you saw a little bit more of that in the playoffs. But Miles just had a tremendous year last year. But we were still capable of doing so. And so we'll see how it plays out. I mean, because I could say it's by committee and then somebody gets hot and we stick with them. And so we'll see how it plays out. But what I love is the depth in that room and the capabilities of the guys in that room. And I don't think it's like you force anything, because I think they're all, I think they're all good at inside zone. I think they're all good at pin pull schemes. I think they're all good at toss crack schemes. I think they're all good at gap schemes. So, and so that gives you some flexibility and some, abilities to say, we're not predictable going in because they all have a very unique or a very wide, broad skill set.
We have time for two more, so we'll go to Zach and then Rob Kessner.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick.
Hey,
You've
Zach.
spoken about the role meeting multiple times over this past 2+ years. What's the origin of that meeting? And you're dealing with 53 guys who are all confident they can play. How do they all take it?
The origin is being very descriptive. So when we talk about meetings, we say high detail in meetings, Zach, and when we say to ourselves, the job description for this play and that play has to be very clear. That's my job as the head coach, that the job description for the staff is very clear, right? There's nothing worse than when you don't know exactly what you're supposed to do and what the job description is. So it starts there with the play. Hey, the job description has to be very clear. This is what you're going to do. Again, here's what we expect you to do. Here's a standard of what we expect you to do against this look, this look, this look, this look, and this look, this look. Every different thing they can get, right? And so why would I do anything different? My thought process is, why would I do anything different when we talk about the roles on the team? And so, is everybody's, and my whole point of roles is not everybody's role is the same, but everybody's role is important. Some guys are going to be in roles that they look at and say, man, I want more out of the role, right? And our job when we're in that role is to just bust our butt and be ready for our opportunity when that happens. And that's happened here, right? Whether it's Christian Ellis starting on the practice squad and then turned into making plays on special teams, whether it's Nakobe's new role from this year to last year, whether it's Reed Blankenship's new role from last year to this year. And so roles can forever, are constantly evolving if you're putting in that work to do so. So, again, like you said, it's tough. Sometimes, hey, your role is to contribute on special teams and to be, and I'm just saying a generic one, right? And there's more to it. I try to look the guys in the eye and tell them exactly what we expect. But sometimes it's, hey, you're the backup and you got to and you're contributing on special teams. And you got to be the best, gunner in the world or you know what I mean, whatever it is. And that player might want more. So that's the tough part of it. But you try to be as honest as you possibly can with all your conversations. You try to be as honest as you can with everything you talk about. So everybody knows what it is going in. But that doesn't mean you're forever in that role, right? I wouldn't be sitting here if my role was always as an offensive coordinator, right? And there's examples of that, right? Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott didn't dress for number of games in 2021, right? They didn't. And then as we saw, as the year went on, right? Those guys continued to impress, and then we saw last year, and then where we are this year. And so there's great examples of that. And so that's kind of where that came from. I actually heard a coach talk about it too, where he had to give a role talk. It was actually Doc Rivers would give that talk to guys, and he said that to us when we were in Indianapolis. And so whatever the combination of those two made me think, hey, this is an important meeting to have.
Last one here with Rob.
Nick, I just want to ask you, you mentioned how you referred to Coach Belichick and try to learn from him. He's been through something you're about to go through, which is your schedule is kind of all over the map in terms of game times. And I realize players are sort of creatures of habit. Are there things that you've done or talked to or people you referred to ask about how to best handle that? I realize the schedule is the schedule, but you are playing at a good amount of unusual times.
Yeah, obviously our sole focus this week is playing at 425. And I always have to remind, I know saying one day at a time, one step at a time, it's a lot easier said than done because it's easy to go, okay, then after this we have this, and after that. So, but our sole focus is this one right now, right here. But do I look for an edge in everything that we do? Yeah, I'm trying to find an edge in everything that we do. And so part of that is the research and is, the research on a Monday night game, the research on a Monday night game on the West Coast, the research on a Monday night game in 2 time zones away, the research on a Monday night game in the same time zone, a home Monday night game, Thursday night, bye week, after a bye week, right? And so, there are all these different schedule things that happen throughout the year. Even if you're just playing at 1 o'clock, right? There's still all these Thursday night games, Sunday night games, Monday night games, all these different things, bye weeks, all these different things, right? And so, what you're trying to do is just, again, perfect your process for each one. That's what you're trying to do. And so, I've tried to do as much as I could studying and asking different coaches, philosophies of all those different things. And at this point in year 3, you kind of have your model for each one. Now, you're constantly tweaking that. Your goal is to perfect the process, but and to keep tweaking it and getting better at. But you can't perfect the process unless you know exactly what that process is. So. We're continuously trying to get better and better and better at it, but at least our formula, our guts are there for all these different time games to go from. And then naturally you can't be cemented in on that. Like if it's a good thing for you to practice on a Wednesday or not practice on a Wednesday or whatever it is, you got to be willing to flow and change and adapt based off of what your team needs. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.